So what happened with the Roman Empire? Well, Julius Caesar decided that he wanted to go back onto the gold standard. Julius Caesar decided that he wanted to get rid of the concept of debt because he realized that there was individuals, oligarchs, that were monetizing off of the fractionalization of the currency. But Luke, how was it that these individuals fractionalized the currency back in the day? Well, they would dilute the purity of the coin. Now, back in the day, you would basically have to go and mine for gold or take over a village or take over a kingdom in order to bring in new currency in order to grow. Today, expansion or growth is merely just the printing of fake money. But that's basically stealing from your own people because you're debasing, devaluing the purchasing power that you have. Why? Because there's more circulating supply. Therefore, scarcity becomes less abounding. Now, back to Julius Caesar. He wanted to reintroduce the gold standard because he saw the debasing of the currency, aka the fading of his empire. But the oligarchs didn't like it. After he passed the law, within 6 months he was murdered. 23 stabs. A couple years later, the debasing of the currency was reintroduced. Now, this happened again many years later in a different land with an individual known as Abraham Lincoln. Now, Abraham Lincoln was an interesting individual because he introduced the thesis of freedom for everybody. Now, he also understood that in order to win, he would need to fight for people that were opposing that view. Now, obviously, if you go deep down the rabbit hole, you understand that that war was funded. Somebody has to pay the soldiers. But if you study history, a very famous and well-off banking dynasty approached Abraham Lincoln and offered to finance his side of the war for a massive interest rate of over 10%. Abraham Lincoln said, fuck that. He went to issue what he called the greenback dollars. And the greenback dollars was currency that he issued so that he could pay the army. He'd used the governmental power to get rid of the central banking system that was basically in control of the entire game. Within 6 months, he was murdered. This happened again in history, many years later. As the United States approached the war on communism, there was an individual known as Kennedy. You've probably heard of this guy. Now, Kennedy was a very interesting individual because he came in as a Democrat, but at some point he shifted his perspective into understanding that there was a big issue with the currency being debased. So he issued, through the Treasury, $2 billion of a new currency, a new US dollar that was backed by silver, the silver-backed dollar. Within 6 months, he was murdered. And a few months later, a silver coin with his face on it was minted to commemorate him. There was another individual in history, a little bit more on the ruthless side, in the northern region of Africa. His name was Gaddafi. You've heard Hillary Clinton brag about, we came, we saw, he died. But the reason was because Gaddafi wanted to introduce the Pan-African currency backed by gold. Within a few years, he was dead. A few years later, an anonymous individual approached the internet, known as Satoshi Nakamoto. He introduced this concept of a new currency that was backed by trust, backed by truth, transparency, and the power of the network. Unlike any other individual that I listed prior that attempted to build something that would compete with the loyal dependence of the dollar was introduced for the first time, and it kind of stuck. And it kind of became cool, but there's nobody to murder. There's no single source of leadership that can be directly killed that can kill this thing in perpetuity. Yeah, it can kill the price. Yeah, you can get rid of F2 pool and you can do some crazy shit. Yeah, for sure. But one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin. What has been reintroduced is what has always existed throughout history, which is a world where multi-currencies exist. Before you had central banks, you had state banks or you had local banks, and those banks issued notes. So as your money's worth fucking zero, as there is a massive move towards digital IDs, a massive move towards the centralization and control of every aspect of your reality, from what you eat to what you say to what you think to what you see to who you hang out with to what you put in your body to what you have to listen to, everything is controlled. How do you get out of that? you have to be operating outside of certain systems, which means you have to develop different belief systems, which means you have to get educated as to the system that you're in. So when I tell individuals that thousands of dollars a day is not a lot of money, it's because you need to understand that, okay, today it's good, but what about in fucking 5 years? Now you may think that I'm out of my mind, but that's because you haven't lived through what I lived through. I come from Argentina. I remember being in Argentina when the dollar to the Argentine peso was fucking 3 pesos to $1. Today it's in the 800,000 plus bullshit. Did people think back in the day at $2, at $3 of an Argentine peso to $1 that things would get debased to basically zero? No. They weren't prepared. They were uneducated. And the last thing you want to be is a fool that thinks that they know everything. Then you're fucked. I will gladly say I'm ignorant on every topic for the rest of my life if that means that I get to keep my ability to fucking continue learning. Because once you begin to evaluate how the world's working, you're gonna stop scrolling and start making some serious plans, bro. Because it becomes so obvious where the world is headed, and a lot of you guys are gonna get fucked. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Unless you make a plan to do 3 things. 1 is capitalize on the trends in the markets at hand. I'm not saying buy fucking shit coins. Understand where the world is headed and where attention is going, and figure out where you can make money and build around that ecosystem. 2, extremely important. Your company, your income needs to be AI proof. Okay, cool. Today, you're fine. In 10 years, you're fucked. I mean, guys, Capital Club ecosystems like ours that live on the internet, we make more than some of these fucking universities. You'd be surprised. So there's a new wave towards what? The future of how the world exists. And I refuse, and you should refuse as an intelligent individual, to listen to anybody that's talking out of their ass, that is uneducated, and that has no results. Because even though I'm not the richest guy, I'm not the biggest e-com guy, I'm not the biggest crypto guy, there's one thing that over the last couple years has stood true. I'm almost always fucking right when it comes to trends. Look at the track record. Bro, don't get fucked. Don't get fucked because you were lazy. Don't get fucked because you chose to not get educated. Don't get fucked because you decided not to pick up that book or go to that event or sit down and listen to that podcast or educate yourself on a specific topic. Guys, AI is extremely new. Crypto is extremely new. The internet is extremely new. But this shit is about to get censored as fuck. What you need to understand is how we are going into a techno-feudalistic state. That's why Bitcoin, that's why these tools of freedom. I'm working on some freedom tools as well to release, just open source to the public. I think it's going to be super beneficial for you guys because we kind of have to do our part when this entire shit hits the fan, and 90+% of the internet will be run by AI bullshit bots, and you won't know what's true and you won't know what's fake. So I think you need to start collecting the things that are real. Relationships, network, Bitcoin, gold. Go get some fucking real skills. 2024 is about to be ruthless. The psyops are going to be huge. In my opinion, it's going to be a great opportunity to get extremely wealthy. So don't be so much worried about where you currently are, especially if you don't have much, right? Because if you don't have much, you don't have much to lose, so might as well go fucking all in. But do the following thing. Take some time and understand the sense of urgency that you're in, and that whether you believe it or not, there will come a digital lock upon you and upon me, and unless you have money, and unless you have a way to get out, you're fucked. And that is the truth. You don't think it's coming? Okay. Oh, that was phenomenal. That was phenomenal. Whatever happened there with my hand motions that caused that fucking emoji, fireworks, mother.